Hello, everybody. Yes, as you can see, I am filming in a different location than I have for my past videos. That is because I am back home in Connecticut for the summer. I finished my college semester at the end of last week, so now I'm back home for the summer. So that's good. That means I'll be able to make some more videos here. I was already doing pretty good at uploading, but now I'm going to be even better. All right, so what I want to do, I want to kind of like take a I'm still gonna be making them, but I want to kind of make other videos other than like normal video mini essays I have been making, because those are very involved and those are very research heavy. And so I want to make videos that kind of allow me to give my opinion on a topic. Well, I mean, that's essentially what these videos are, but they're like, my opinion is kind of either formulated or backed up by the research. With these videos, I want to kind of create a free form discussion. I want to pose a topic and, try and gauge general opinion on it. And I think one that's important to talk about, especially as someone on the left, is whether or not the left should have a, quote, tea party. And what I mean by that is I don't mean like we should become the right all of a sudden, like become like what the Tea Party movement exactly was. No, that's not what I'm saying. But basically the question is, are the left members of Congress doing enough to fight leadership and to push, to the extent possible, their agenda? No, I don't think they are. That's my 2 cents. And for instance, I think the biggest thing that comes to a lot of people's minds here is force the vote, which happened over the holidays in 2020, 2021. What that was, if you're on the left and you don't know what that was, first of all, I kind of envy you because it really just tore us apart. But one of the things that it did do was it was a movement to get people in Congress like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Rashida Tlaib, Jamal Bowman, Ilhan Omar, etc., was to get them to withhold their support for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker unless and until she committed to a floor vote on Medicare for all. And the idea was the Democrats had like the slimmest House majority in decades. So in such a narrowly divided Congress, progressives can easily use their leverage to demand concessions. And it took a little while, but I was eventually on board with force the vote, because even though I'm under no illusions, I know for a fact Medicare for all is not going to get passed in the Biden era. It was definitely an opportunity to take on because Medicare for all has pretty high popularity, and it is definitely needed during a pandemic. I've referenced my support for Medicare for all before, but obviously it didn't work. They just voted for Pelosi. They tried to say oh, we got PAYGO exemptions, which means Medicare for all won't be impacted by PAYGO, which I'm kind of butchering that explanation, but whatever. Which, I mean, okay, good for you, but don't you think the next logical step would be to have a vote on Medicare for all? I don't know. That's just me. And I just want to plug an article real quick from someone who wrote about this, and they wrote about how the left does need its own Tea Party and how this is a perfect opportunity to do so. And I would definitely link that article in the description below. I think it's very informative and it definitely goes into a lot of detail. They mention how the Tea Party constantly fed red meat to their base. They gave them exactly what they wanted and they delivered on what they wanted. And that's something that, in my opinion, we don't really see for the left flank of the Democratic Party in Congress. And then there was another time that came up later on when the COVID relief bill was being passed and the $15 minimum wage was taken out of the bill. And there were calls from some people on the left for progressives in Congress to withhold their support for for the bill unless it included a $15 minimum wage. So obviously that didn't happen. They voted for it anyway. I was a little more forgiving on that front because I figure, the bill, I mean, there are many criticisms you can make of it, but it does do a lot of good. And at the time, I think it was desperately needed because it did renew aid that was set to expire in a couple of days regarding unemployment insurance. So for me, I was a little more forgiving on that front, but at the same time, it does kind of show the lack of fight that a lot of them have. And it took me a while, but I think they've admitted behind the scenes, like, they're not interested in doing these strategies. They're not interested in taking the Tea Party route. They're more interested in actually trying to court behind the scenes support, which, I mean, that hasn't really worked out so far. And the Tea Party, they made sure that they made clear that they hated Democratic leadership just as much as they hated Republican leadership, and they forced John Boehner to quit his job as Speaker and in the House altogether because they just wouldn't just constantly be on his case. And that's something the Democratic Party needs to do, the left flank at least. And this is a graphic right here that I want to highlight because it really shows out why the Tea Party was so successful. There are 5 reasons that they were able to do that. 1, they fed candy to the media. In other words, they were political theater. They gave the media something to talk about, and that gave them attention. And they also gave a safe haven to the silently simmering voters. So the left can absolutely do that, and they can give them, quote, safe spaces for speaking out to people who have been disaffected by the system and who actually support the left's agenda, which is way more popular than the Tea Party's agenda. Are you kidding me? The Tea Party didn't stray from 3 core values. So that means that the left should actually get behind issues, preferably economic issues. So that's where the left is massively popular. They're popular on economic issues. Social issues is a little more divided, so they should stick to economic issues. And if they do that, then they can absolutely win over the people. The Tea Party group swapped strategies. This was one where local groups stayed in touch, and they tried to do local-to-local networking, and that's exactly what the left should do. This is something where I actually kind of agree. Like, the left, honestly, is better at the local level than the national level, but there definitely does need to be some, like, central, strong leadership at the front. And you have that with organizations like Justice Democrats, but I think they have the same problem. Like, they don't really encourage these representatives to fight, really. And finally, the Tea Party built political muscle by picking fights it could win. This one is, I think, the most important because, an argument against force the vote could have been, well, Medicare for All has no chance of passing. I mean, you'd be correct. Now, I think that it would have been worth it to get members of Congress on the record as to whether or not they support giving everybody health care in the middle of a pandemic. But you want to pick fights you can win. Like, I think that this is a fair point, that is a fair argument, and maybe, they should pick their battles more carefully. Okay, I understand, and honestly, I don't disagree. So I think some of the things they should do is, they should do something like holding up Biden's legislative agenda, like saying we're not going to vote for this unless and until, hell, even just voting present. Like, if there are enough of them just to vote present instead of just outright voting no, that could tank the bill right there. So if they don't want to officially say no, then they could just vote against it. Oh, vote present. Say no to any bill Biden says. Say no or say present to, or whatever is enough to tank the bill until Biden signs an executive order canceling student loan debt. He can cancel almost all student loan debt with a stroke of a pen. Doing emergency Medicare for All, which he can do. He has the legal authority to do that. Or something else. Maybe he's proposed an expanded Pentagon budget. Maybe you want him to cut that. Don't vote for his legislation unless he does that. Okay, these are fights that you actually have a chance at winning. Something like Medicare for All is off the table because he's already said he's not going to do that. Now, he's horrendous for saying that, but that's the reality. So, if you want to pick battles you can win, then those are just a couple examples. I'm not the first person to give these examples. But, like I said, the left flank of Congress has already said that they're not really interested in going down that route. Not only are they doing that, but they're also praising Biden, with AOC saying that he's exceeded progressives' expectations. This you? Or Pramila Jayapal, the chair of the Progressive Caucus of Congress, giving him an A so far when, mind you, both of these comments by AOC and Jayapal, they were made after he took the $15 minimum wage out of the COVID relief bill, after he continued Trump's migrant detention centers and all that. And as of right now, they still continue, for lack of a better term, going along to get along, instead of actually making leadership hate them. Okay, that's not true. Leadership does hate them, but they're not afraid of them. That's the bottom line. And this was definitely something that I was questioning for a while, because as someone on the left, it's already rare that you have people allied with you in Congress. And I thought we were making progress when we were getting these people there, but I think it was easy with Trump as president because there wasn't really much they could accomplish. We're just kind of getting the ball rolling and hoping that something would happen. But but now that Biden's president and they're not really living up to actually bucking the establishment, it really does suck, because once it really hits you that you don't really have anyone in Congress representing you. I mean, you kind of already knew that, but once the reality hits, at first it feels good because you finally answered a question you've been thinking about for a long time. This is just me. But after a while, it starts to make you question whether or not you're crazy or you're the only voice of reason. You're one or the other in this case. And it sucks because the right has enough representation in Congress to last them a lifetime. Let's just be honest at this point. That's just how it is. But the left doesn't. Not even close. And it can be alienating because there are plenty of people who defend the squad, plenty of people who are against them, and it's definitely kind of a area where you can get quote unquote canceled if you speak out for or against them. And it's definitely a scary thing. But I think it's not nearly as scary as it's the idea that we supposedly have these people supposedly on our side when they're just not really trying to actively go to war, metaphorically speaking, of course, with Nancy Pelosi, who has nothing but contempt for them. She has nothing but contempt for them. So it's just sad, but I leave it to you, because there are plenty of people out there who are saying, I want to address another facet of this. There are plenty of people who say we can't have a left Tea Party because the Tea Party sucked. They were nothing more than performative. They were terrible, and plus they were funded by billionaires. And the left is against billionaires, especially billionaires donating to candidates. And to that I respond with, well, it doesn't really matter what they were doing. We all agree that their the Tea Party ideology is horrendous. That's something no one on the left, no actual leftist would argue with that. But it doesn't really matter what they believe. It's the fact that they delivered for their base and they went into open combat with Republican leadership and they didn't let up. The left needs to do that with Democratic leadership. Not just that, but it's also as regards to fundraising, billionaire money. In the absence of billionaire money, the movement can't be successful. Well, the squad and they're some of the most followed members of Congress on social media. They easily have an army of people willing to back them up and to support them. And maybe social media doesn't automatically translate into support, but when you have that many, it's definitely hard not to find people out there who will back you up on that. But that's just my 2 cents. And not only that, but they have the people on their side too. Again, the left's agenda, at least as far as economic issues, is overwhelmingly popular. But that's what I believe. I want to open it up to everybody watching. Should the left have its own Tea Party? And I don't mean we adopt the ideology or lack thereof of the Tea Party. I mean, should left members of Congress, such as the squad, pursue the Tea Party strategy? I think I am strongly in the camp that they should. Unfortunately, they are not. But what do you think? Sound off in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If you want to see some other discussion videos, if you like this style of video, comment below with more suggestions. Check out my last 2 videos right over here, and I'll see y'all soon. Peace.